Imagine a world without marriage. No weddings, no vows, no ceremonies. That's almost impossible to imagine, right? Marriage is everywhere in human culture. Every society has some form of marriage. But where did it come from? Is marriage a human invention or something older than humanity itself? The answer is surprisingly ancient. Today, we're going to find out how marriage was born. Let's start with the beginning. Marriage didn't start with a ceremony. It started with biology. Pair bonding, the oldest form of marriage. Animals pair bond too. Swans mate for life. Gibbons pair bond. Wolves form family units. But humans took it further. We made it a social institution. When did humans start pairing up? The answer is millions of years ago. Our ape ancestors paired up. Chimpanzees don't pair bond, but bonobos sometimes do. Gorillas have harems. Orangutans are mostly solitary. Humans are different. We evolved to form lasting bonds. Why? Because our babies are helpless. Human infants take years to grow. They need constant care. Mothers can't do it alone. Fathers needed to help, so they stayed with the mother. This created the first families, the first pair bonds, the first marriages. But when did this happen? Scientists think around 4 million years ago. Romantic love evolved around then. The brain chemistry for love appeared. Dopamine, oxytocin, and vasopressin. These chemicals bond couples together, the same chemicals that bond us to children. This is the biological foundation of marriage. But biology is not the whole story. Marriage is also a social contract and a legal institution. So when did marriage become official? The first evidence comes from Neanderthals. They lived 400,000 to 40,000 years ago. In 2021, scientists made a discovery. They found Neanderthal DNA in Siberia, 13 Neanderthal genomes, and they found something incredible, a father and daughter, the first known human family. This was 60,000 years ago, a Neanderthal father and his daughter. They lived together in a cave. This is the earliest evidence of human families. But there was something else. The women didn't stay in their birth group. Young females left their families. They went to live with males from other groups. This is called patrilocality. Men stayed, women moved. This is how early societies worked. Neanderthals had families. They lived in small groups of about 20 to 100 people. The men stayed together. The women married into other groups. This created social bonds. It connected different communities. This is the earliest form of marriage. Neanderthals didn't have weddings, but they had pair bonds. They had families. They had commitment. They had what we would call marriage. Homo sapiens appeared 300,000 years ago. They also formed families. They also had pair bonds, but they started to formalize things. When did the first wedding happen? We don't know exactly, but we have the first records. The first written record of marriage comes from Egypt around 2,500 years ago, but weddings happened before writing. We have archaeological evidence. Ritual ceremonies, symbolic gestures, the exchange of gifts, shared meals. These are the earliest wedding traditions, and they started a long time ago. The oldest known marriage contracts are from Egypt. They were found on Elephantine Island. These are papyrus documents from around 500 BC. They recorded marriages. They listed property rights. They mentioned divorce procedures. This shows marriage was legal. It was a contract between families, not just a personal choice. The Greeks also had marriage contracts. The oldest Greek one is from 310 BC. It was between Heraclides and Demetria. It listed what each person brought and what they could take if they split. This is how marriage became legal, but written records are late. Marriage was already ancient. The first recorded wedding was earlier, around 2350 BC in Mesopotamia, modern-day Iraq. This is the first known wedding ceremony, a man and woman united, with witnesses present, with rituals performed. This was 4,350 years ago, but marriage was different then. It wasn't about love. It was about property. Families arranged marriages to make alliances, to combine wealth, to produce heirs. The husband owned the wife. She was his property. She had no rights. She couldn't divorce him, but he could divorce her. This was the ancient way. In Babylon, men could have multiple wives. In Assyria, women had more rights. In Egypt, women could own property. But marriage was still a contract. between families, not individuals. This changed slowly over time, but it took thousands of years. The ancient world had many forms of marriage, but one thing was common. Marriage was about survival. In ancient Greece, marriage was different. Girls married at 14 or 15. Men married much later, in their 30s. Their wives were much younger. The bride was given by her father. He would say, "I give you this woman for the purpose of bearing children." Legitimate children. This was the purpose of marriage. Love wasn't mentioned. In ancient Rome, it was similar. Roman girls married at 12, boys at 14. The father chose the husband. Without permission, marriage was illegal. Roman men could keep mistresses and male lovers, but their wives had to be faithful. If a wife cheated, she was punished. The husband could kill her. This was the law. In ancient China, marriage was similar. Parents arranged marriages. The bride moved to the husband's family. She became part of his household. She served his parents. She was under their authority. In ancient India, marriage was sacred. The Vedas speak of marriage. It was a religious duty, not just a social arrangement. The husband and wife were bound for 7 lifetimes. In Judaism, marriage was a covenant, a sacred agreement. The ketubah was a marriage contract. It protected the wife. It listed what she would receive if her husband died or divorced her. In Islam, marriage was a contract too. The mahar was a bridal gift from the husband to the wife. This was her property. She could keep it if divorced. In the Americas, marriage was different. The Maya had arranged marriages. The Aztecs had ceremonies. The Inca had royal marriages. Marriage was everywhere. The Middle Ages brought changes. The church got involved. In the 8th century, marriage became a sacrament, a holy ceremony, not just a secular contract. The church had rules. You couldn't marry your relatives. You couldn't divorce. Marriage was for life. This changed everything. Before this, divorce was common. The church ended that. They said marriage is indissoluble. What God has joined together, let no man put asunder. In 1215, the church added more rules. They required marriage bans, public announcements, to prevent secret marriages, to prevent invalid marriages. Marriage was now public and official. In medieval Europe, marriages were arranged. Nobles married for power. Peasants married for land. Love came second, if it came at all. Weddings were small. No big ceremonies, just a priest and a promise. Sometimes a hand fasting, holding hands in front of witnesses. This was enough to make a marriage. The church tried to control everything. They set the rules. They enforced the rules. They punished those who broke them. In England, marriage was still a contract, but it was also a religious ceremony. This was the pattern across Europe. In Scotland, marriage was different. You could marry younger, without parental consent. This attracted English couples. They ran away to Gretna Green to marry without permission. In the Middle Ages, marriage evolved. It became more formal, more structured, more controlled, but something was missing. Love. Ancient marriage wasn't about love. Medieval marriage wasn't about love. Marriage was practical. It was survival. It was duty. Love was a luxury or a danger. Falling in love could ruin a marriage. In some cultures, love was forbidden. Marriage and love were separate. But this started to change. In the 12th century, courtly love appeared. Troubadours sang of love. Poems celebrated romance. But this was outside marriage. It was about forbidden love. It was about knights and ladies, not about married couples. In the Renaissance, love began to matter. Shakespeare wrote about love, Romeo and Juliet, a love story about marriage. But it ended in tragedy. Love and marriage were still enemies. The 18th century changed things. The Enlightenment brought new ideas, individual rights and happiness. People started choosing their partners. For the first time, love mattered. In England, the Marriage Act of 1753 required parental consent for minors, but it also made marriage more formal. You needed a license. You needed a ceremony. You needed witnesses. In 1836, civil marriage was introduced. You could marry without the church, just the state. This was a big step. Marriage was no longer just religious. It was a civil contract. By the 19th century, love marriage was ideal. Victorians believed in romantic love, but it was still restricted. Class, race, and gender mattered. Women couldn't own property. They couldn't divorce. Love marriage was still limited. The 20th century brought big changes. Women gained rights. They could vote. They could own property. They could divorce. In 1969, no-fault divorce appeared. You didn't need a reason to divorce. You could just leave. This changed marriage forever. Marriage became a choice, not a necessity. People waited longer to marry. They married for love, not for survival. In the 21st century, marriage evolved more. Same-sex marriage became legal, first in the Netherlands, 2001, then many other countries. Marriage is no longer just about reproduction. It's about partnership. It's about love. It's about commitment. But the history of marriage is long. Millions of years in the making. From pair bonding to legal contract, from arranged marriage to love marriage, from religious ceremony to civil union, marriage has evolved, and it's still evolving. Today, people choose marriage, or they choose not to marry. Both are valid choices. The story of marriage is the story of us. It's about survival. It's about family. It's about love. From the first Neanderthal family to modern weddings, marriage has been with us every step of the way. So when did marriage start? The answer is simple and complex. Marriage started millions of years ago. With the first pair bonds, it became law thousands of years ago. It became sacred in the Middle Ages. It became about love only recently. But it is one of our oldest traditions and one of our most enduring. This is how marriage began. Marriage is not the same everywhere. Different cultures, different traditions. In India, arranged marriages still happen. In Japan, matchmaking is common. In some African cultures, bride price is paid. In the West, love is the main reason, but the core is the same. Two people coming together, forming a family, building a life. Marriage is universal. Every culture has it. This tells us something. Marriage meets a deep human need. The need for connection, the need for partnership, the need for family. We are social creatures. We need each other. Marriage is one way we meet that need, but it's not the only way. Today, there are many forms of partnership. Marriage is no longer the only option, but it remains important. It remains meaningful. The first wedding was 4,350 years ago, but the first marriage was much older. It was 4 million years ago, when our ancestors first paired up, when they first formed families, when they first committed to each other. This is the story of marriage, from biology to law, from survival to love, from necessity to choice. Marriage has come a long way, but the need for connection remains. It will always be with us, because we are human, and we need to love, and to be loved. This is why marriage exists. This is why it has existed. This is why it will exist. Thank you for watching this journey through time.
Subscribe if you love this video. Thanks for watching and join our community.